In this episode, we look at data classification, which is the practice of labeling information so you know how strongly it needs to be protected. Data classification gives you a way to move from vague concern to clear handling rules. Without classification, every file, record, message, and database can feel equally important, and that usually leads to confusion. Some information is meant for public release. Some information should stay inside the organization. Some information could harm customers, employees, operations, legal standing, or national security if exposed. Classification helps you decide who should access data, where it should be stored, whether it should be encrypted, how it should be shared, how long it should be retained, and how it should be destroyed. You are not just learning labels. You are learning how labels guide security decisions throughout the life of information. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at Cyber.Me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A public classification is usually the lowest sensitivity level. Public information is approved for release outside the organization and should not create harm if viewed by anyone. Examples may include marketing brochures, published job postings, press releases, public web pages, product announcements, or general contact information meant to be shared. Public does not mean sloppy. The organization still cares about integrity because a public web page that is defaced or a public document that is altered can damage trust. Availability may also matter because customers or partners may depend on public information being reachable. Still, public data normally does not need the same access restrictions as internal payroll records or confidential legal plans. The main control question is whether the information has actually been approved for public release. A draft document is not public just because it might become public later. Sensitive data is information that needs protection because exposure, alteration, or misuse could create some level of harm. Sensitive is often used as a broad label, and the exact meaning depends on the organization. It might include internal procedures, employee information, non-public business plans, security reports, customer contact details, or limited operational information. Sensitive data may not be the most restricted information in the organization, but it should not be handled casually. It may require access based on job need, approved storage locations, secure sharing methods, and limits on copying or forwarding. You should treat sensitive as a warning that the information has value and needs care. If you are unsure whether data is sensitive, the safer habit is to pause and check the organization's policy or data owner instead of guessing. Mislabeling sensitive data as ordinary can quietly create exposure. Confidential data usually requires stronger protection than general sensitive data. Confidential information is meant for a limited audience, and unauthorized disclosure could harm the organization, customers, employees, or partners. Examples may include financial forecasts, contract terms, legal strategy, source code, customer records, private employee information, security architecture diagrams, or investigation details. Confidential data should have clear access control. Not every employee needs it just because they work for the same organization. Storage should be approved, sharing should be limited, and encryption is often expected when the information is stored or transmitted. Confidential data also needs careful handling during collaboration. A file may begin in a protected repository, but if someone downloads it, emails it, or copies pieces into a chat, the data may move into weaker places. The classification should follow the content, not just the original file location. Restricted data is usually a higher sensitivity level that requires tighter controls because unauthorized access could cause serious harm. Restricted information may include highly regulated records, authentication secrets, protected legal material, sensitive security findings, merger plans, certain financial records, or data covered by strict contracts. The organization may require stronger authentication, narrower access groups, encryption, monitoring, approval workflows, and special handling rules for restricted data. The key idea is that only people with a clear, approved need should access it. Restricted data may also be limited to specific systems or regions. It should not be copied into personal storage, general collaboration spaces, unmanaged devices, or ordinary email unless the organization has approved a secure method. Restricted means the organization is intentionally reducing who can touch the data, where it can live, and how it can move. Critical data is information that is essential to the organization's mission, operations, safety, legal obligations, or survival. Critical does not always mean secret. Some critical data may not be highly confidential, but losing it, corrupting it, or making it unavailable could be very damaging. Examples might include production records, core customer databases, identity data, emergency contact information, operational schedules, safety procedures, system backups, encryption key inventories, or configuration data needed to restore services. Critical classification often drives availability, integrity, backup, and recovery decisions. If the data must be available quickly after an incident, the architecture may need stronger backup, replication, testing, and recovery planning. If the data must be accurate, integrity controls and change approval may be especially important. Critical data reminds you that classification is not only about secrecy. Sometimes the biggest risk is that needed information becomes unavailable or untrustworthy. Secret and top secret are labels often associated with government, defense, intelligence, or other highly controlled environments, although organizations may use similar terms in different ways. Secret information is generally protected because unauthorized disclosure could cause serious damage to national security, major operations, or highly sensitive missions. Top secret information is protected even more strongly because unauthorized disclosure could cause exceptionally grave damage. At this level, access is usually based on strict need-to-know, formal authorization, approved systems, controlled storage, auditing, and specific handling rules. You do not need to work in a classified environment to understand the concept. As sensitivity increases, access becomes narrower, storage becomes more controlled, transmission becomes more restricted, and accountability becomes stronger. These labels show the far end of the classification spectrum, where mistakes can have consequences far beyond ordinary business embarrassment. Classification drives access control because the label helps decide who may view, change, share, approve, or delete the data. Public information may be widely viewable, while confidential or restricted information may require a specific role, group, clearance, approval, or business need. Role-based access control, or BAC, can help by assigning permissions based on job responsibilities. Attribute-based access control, ABAC, can add context, such as location, device status, classification label, or project assignment. The important point is that access should match the data's sensitivity and the user's need. A person may be trusted as an employee and still not need access to every confidential file. Classification helps avoid broad access by default. It also supports periodic access reviews. If a file is restricted, the organization should be able to explain who has access, why they have it, and whether they still need it. Classification also drives storage decisions. Public information may be stored on public web servers or broadly accessible repositories after approval. Internal information may belong in managed business systems rather than personal drives. Confidential or restricted data may need approved storage services with encryption, strong access control, logging, backup, and retention settings. Some data may be prohibited from certain platforms because of geography, contract terms, regulatory requirements, or provider limitations. A restricted file should not be stored in a random folder simply because that folder is convenient. A critical database should not live on an unmanaged system with weak backup. Storage choices should reflect the value and sensitivity of the information. Classification gives the organization a way to say which systems are approved for which data types. That prevents sensitive data from spreading into places that cannot protect it properly. Encryption decisions are also shaped by classification. Encryption protects data by making it unreadable without the correct key. Public information may not need encryption for confidentiality, although protected communication can still help preserve integrity and trust. Sensitive, confidential, restricted, secret, and top secret data often require stronger encryption when stored at rest and when moving in transit. Data at rest means stored data, such as files, databases, backups, archives, and devices. Data in transit means data moving across a network or between systems. Key management matters because encryption is only as strong as the protection around the keys. If the data is restricted but the key is stored carelessly, the control is weakened. Classification should help decide when encryption is required, what strength is appropriate, who can access keys, how keys are rotated, and how encrypted backups are handled. Handling rules turn classification into daily behavior. A confidential document may require an approved sharing method, a warning label, limited recipients, and restrictions on printing or forwarding. Restricted data may require secure transfer, management approval, special logging, and a ban on storage on unmanaged devices. Secret or top-secret data may require approved facilities, approved systems, physical controls, and strict rules for discussion, reproduction, and transport. Even sensitive information may require care when displayed on screens, discussed in public spaces, or included in meeting recordings. Handling also includes disposal. A public flyer can be thrown away normally, but a printed restricted report may need secure shredding. A retired drive that held confidential data may need approved sanitization. Classification helps people know what actions are allowed, what actions are risky, and when they need to use a more controlled process. Retention decisions depend heavily on classification and business need. Retention means how long data should be kept. Keeping data too briefly can create operational, legal, or audit problems. Keeping data too long can create unnecessary exposure, cost, and discovery risk. Public materials may be kept for historical or brand reasons. Sensitive and confidential data may have retention periods tied to contracts, laws, investigations, business processes, or policy. Restricted data may need strict retention and deletion schedules because the longer it exists, the longer it can be exposed. Critical data may need strong backup and recovery retention, but even critical data should not be kept forever without reason. Classification helps decide retention rules, archive protections, legal holds, deletion methods, and who can approve disposal. Data lifecycle management becomes much easier when the organization knows what the data is and how important it remains over time. Classification can be applied manually, automatically, or through a combination of both. A person may label a document based on its content and policy. A system may apply a label when it detects personally identifiable information, PII, payment data, health information, credentials, or certain keywords. A database may classify fields based on known data types. A data loss prevention (DLP) tool may use labels to warn, block, encrypt, or log sharing attempts. Manual classification benefits from human judgment, but people can forget or misunderstand. Automated classification can scale better, but it may create false positives or miscontext. A good program usually needs both. The label should be easy to apply, visible enough to guide handling, and connected to real controls. A classification label that never changes behavior is only a decoration. Misclassification creates real security risk. If confidential data is labeled public, it may be shared too widely, stored in the wrong place, or transmitted without enough protection. If public data is labeled restricted, work may slow down and people may start ignoring labels because they seem unreasonable. Overclassification can create fatigue. Underclassification can create exposure. Inconsistent classification can make audits, investigations, and access reviews much harder. This is why organizations need clear definitions, examples, training, and data owners who can resolve uncertainty. You should not expect every person to make perfect classification decisions from memory. The system should make the right choice easier through templates, approved repositories, labeling prompts, automated detection, and review processes. Classification works best when it is practical enough for daily use and serious enough to affect real security controls. Data classification gives structure to data protection. Public data can be shared after approval, but its integrity still matters. Sensitive data needs care because exposure could create harm. Confidential data needs limited access and controlled sharing. Restricted data needs tight handling, strong authorization, and careful monitoring. Critical data may drive recovery, integrity, and availability decisions because the organization depends on it. Secret and top secret labels represent the highest levels of control in environments where disclosure could cause severe damage. These labels matter because they guide access control, storage, encryption, handling, retention, monitoring, and disposal. When classification is done well, people do not have to guess how to protect information. The label tells them what kind of care the data deserves. The larger lesson is that data protection starts with understanding the value, sensitivity, and mission impact of the information in front of you.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.